Welcome everyone, and Matsalin Sensei, you know. So I'm happy to be here, and we're going to do some Kashima-inspired work, I call it, because really I'm not pure Kashima. So I can say I'm inspired from Kashima. And before Kashima, I studied maybe 15 years of Aikiken, and then now maybe 20 years of Kashima-inspired work. I learned most of it from Tissier Sensei, but also, of course, some of his students. And then over the years, I developed my own feeling, and I'm not a traditional Kashima teacher. So if you want to learn real pure Kashima, please find a pure Kashima teacher in the lineage. So another thing I want to mention, we have a little limited space here, so sometimes we cannot reach up completely like we want or go back as far as we would like. So please know that we cannot express the movements fully. So you know about this. We thought we would focus on the third series, and we will do it in the way I learned it one time. Later I learned that the order maybe is different, but I can't change. So I'm doing in the order I learned from Tissier Sensei originally. So just so you know. I mean, for me, the most important thing is to share some inspiration, not to say which is the right or wrong way to do things. I want to share the study of the movements and some ideas how to study and what is the logic behind movements. And the logic I will share with you is not the only logic. There are other ways to look at Kashima. So other ways to look at these Kenjutsu movements. I'm just sharing the things I'm working on. And please know that there are many ways to work on things and many ways to look at things. So I hope you can keep an open mind and just allow you to be inspired. We will, in the beginning, we will show the third series. It's 5 katas. And as I said, I do it in the order I once learned it. And then we will start to break it down and go through. And then in Kashima, something I like is that usually the teacher is the uke. So when we go through the movements later on, I will be the uke and Mats will do the nage part. And that's an interesting idea in Kashima that the teacher is actually the uke most of the time. So anyway, please enjoy and follow. Just one more thing in the beginning. Now we will show it quickly through the 5 katas, and then we will come back. We will show some solo movements, but most of it will be with a partner. If you don't have a partner, you can choose one side to exercise on, you know, and then you hopefully one day you have a partner and you can study. And I also count, maybe this will be on YouTube and you can look back on it later and train together more when you have a partner. So please enjoy and we will start. So. Hey! 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 To! Hey! 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 these 5 basic movements we will study. And the first one, I will be uke, Mat will be nage. So, number 1. I will move a little bit before him, but we do the same movement. Wakigamai. We go up to Yodan Kamai and down on the side. Wakikamai here. In this position, it's very important that we have a feeling forward. So my front leg has to be free. I cannot drop my weight. So my feeling is really forward. And from my little finger, moving the sword. So both of us do the same movement. I start a little bit before Yodan Kamai, Waki Kamai. Now, from my little finger, I go for his head. He reacts and close, and I stop. And there's no pressure on the sword. If I push his sword, he will enter. If he push my sword, I will enter. So when I see that I cannot reach his head, I stop the movement here. It's very important, and just touch. So from this position, now I want to continue. So maybe I would like to enter here. When I enter, he can also enter here and cut. So what we both do, we create space for each other. I try to enter, he tries to enter, but then we make space with the Kesagiri cut. So no one can enter. I cannot enter, he cannot enter. So we use the Kesagiri cut to create space in front of us. So one more, we move back, Yodan Kamai, Waki Kamai. Now I try to go for his head. He raises his sword and I stop and feel it. Very gentle touch. Now, I would like to go in, he would like to go in here. But both of us close and create some space. Now, from this place, from my little finger, I draw the sword in and try to enter in a tsuki. So entering straight. Then at the body contact, I can turn. But normally, personally, I prefer to go straight with the sword and then in the end, if I have time, turn the sword. So when I do this, I come here, he will remove my sword. So he removes my sword with a very low cut, like a spiral movement, like a cut, coming from inside and to my center. Now I'll be moving in action and he will do the same thing. So I go for his head. I see his sword, I stop. I try to enter, he tries to enter. We create space with the Kesagiri cut. Now I want to enter with the tsuki and he removes my tsuki. Then he releases me and we come back. So before we do this movement, there's something I would like you to try, if you have a partner or not. But the first movement here, when I come here and he holds my sword, you can touch it there without touching the blade. Now, my feeling should really be like this, like I was hanging in the sword. Then from my little finger, when he releases, I can move. So if Mats is doing the same thing, comes back, I touch without touching the blade, and from here I hold. Now, he can really keep his feeling forward. Now, when I release, he enters, boom. So if you have a partner, try this movement first. It's very important that your mind, your ki is forward here, not bring your ki back. You bring your sword back, but your mind is forward. So if you do this a few times, and then try the kata. So I give you 2 minutes, and you can try either the solo exercise or the kata exercise. Okay, good luck. Okay, so from the first movement here for uke and nage, but if I focus on uke now, standing straight, you come up to yodan kamae and slide down and lean forward. So your sword should not be seen from your partner. So your sword is hidden behind your hands. And then with this hand, you enter. And your foot is almost pulled back a little bit, so you can really enter like that. Then creating space with the kesagiri cut. To stop your partner from entering, you create space. Now, this movement here goes in. So don't come on the side. You come into the center line and enter. And it's the same for uke and nage. You go to the center line and enter. Very important is from the little finger. Be very relaxed in your right hand doing this movement. The right hand just guides the sword, but the power comes from the left. So let's look at this movement here. Matt is standing here. Put your hand back, yeah. So when I remove his sword, of course it's an action, but now we stop the action. Now, it's like a mini cut in a spiral, like this, like that. And as I said, the right hand is very relaxed. So the power comes from the left hand. So the basic movement here is like a cut. Then when you want to put more energy inside, you come and you add an acceleration. Don't speed up too early. You want to accelerate in the end, boom, like that. And you accelerate with your hands, not your arms and shoulders. So the acceleration is in your hand. If we think about the acceleration, it's like I want to hit this ball here. So I move my sword, same speed. Now, before I hit the ball, I accelerate with my wrist, not the arm. So it's an acceleration. Then the arm continues same speed. Don't go like this. So you come here, you accelerate, boom, and continue. Same thing with the movement. Same movement, but an acceleration in your hands. Don't disturb your arms with acceleration. We can look at the movement like this. The big circle is the big movement. It's the entering and cutting. The small circles are the accelerations with your wrists. So don't disturb the speed of the bigger circle with your acceleration with your hands. Just continue with the same speed and accelerate inside the big circle. So if Mats is holding his sword here, and I make one movement like this, this is the big circle, like this. Now I'll add my wrist. Boom. Here. In the end, just like this. Okay, please try 2 minutes. The end of the movement. Okay, good. So something important in this third series with this movement is very large movement, but don't lose yourself in the large movement. Stay on the line and focus forward. So when we move back here, I still focus forward. When I enter, I'm of course inside here. Now, when you make the cut to stop your partner from entering and creating space, don't fall back. It's a cut that creates space for you. So your mind, your key has to be here. So don't go longer with your sword than your toes. You know, don't start to turn your body. You're here because you create a space in front of you to stop your partner from entering. So, okay, so I will attack and Mats will do it. So I will start and he follows. Hey! Hey! Please try one more time. Okay, so we will come back to this, but we will continue now with the second one. And you can always look at the first one on the recording after. So I will be Uke, I will attack Mats, and he will show number 2 in the third series. So I enter. Now he could come inside. This is also true because if I want to enter here, he can stop me. So what I will do is to call him with my wrist. Here. I will remove my head. If my head is here, he will take my head. But I remove my head and give the wrist. Then from this position, we'll continue. But we will show the whole movement first. So I attack and he shows the whole movement. Bam, bam, bam. This is a little complicated form. So I try to enter. He stops me with his sword. I don't push, I just feel his sword. Here, I could try to enter, but he can close. So what I do, I give my wrist, and he wants to come around my sword to cut inside here. So I use this feeling from him. So I give my wrist and come back. It's like a bait. So I give the wrist. Then, when doing that, I will use my movement to remove his sword. So maybe if you come from there, so I will attack. So I come here, bam. Now I give my wrist, remove my head, and step back. So my movement as Uke, I come in here, try to reach him, I have to stop for his sword. Then I give an opening and I give my wrist and remove my head. When he's almost on my wrist, I step back and sweep his sword. So please try this movement. Okay, good. So as Uke, my movement, I enter, I try to reach, I have to adjust. Then I show my wrist and save my head. Then when the sword is above my hand, I sweep the sword. Now, he figures this out. So I will do it slowly. I enter, I have to adjust to the sword. I don't push, I just feel his sword. Now, I give my wrist and he knows it. So he removes his sword. And his movement is like he's here as Nage. And he straightens his sword, he drops his sword, and he pulls his sword up. And this movement is very gentle. So you're here, you raise your sword, drop it, and rise it. Don't move your sword and your head. So you're from here. Make your sword straight. Now this becomes an axis. You drop it, you rise, and then you enter. So keep your hands quite still, just this, boom, boom, and then up. So Mats will show this movement. So I attack here, I attack, bow. Now I give my wrist and he removes his sword just before I hit his sword. It's like I try to trick him, but he tricks me. So please try. Okay, so this second movement, try to keep your posture straight, your sword very light. So when you're nage here, when you're standing here, when you straighten your sword, make sure your front foot is free here, because you don't want to be heavy on the front foot and lean forward. So you straighten your sword, your front foot is very free. Then when you drop, you can come up immediately, boom, like this. And then you want to enter, but don't enter with your upper body. Keep your upper body straight. So just very light, feeling like this. Turning point becomes the hand. It's like if I hold my sword here, maybe we can be like this. Now, if he hits my sword here, my sword is back. If my hand goes, my sword is lost. But if the sword can turn around here, then I can keep my sword. So my sword is here, and my sword is still there. Boom. So this feeling of turning around an axis in your upper hand is very important for the nage in this movement. And front foot, of course, very light. Please try one more time. Okay, so, oops, blurry. Why is it not focusing? Not focus. Okay, focus back. Yes. So Mats will show one more time. I will be uke, and he will show the movement one more time. So we go a little slow. So I attack here. I try to reach his head, but I have to stop for his sword. Now, I give my wrist at the same time as he tries to pass my sword. He tries to come behind. Maybe we stand a little bit like this. So he tries to bypass my sword. And I use this feeling from him to give him my wrist and save my head. Then, boom. Now, when this happens, he saves his sword. Boom. And I step back. So we do it one more time with a little more movement. I attack. I come here. Boom. Okay, please try. Okay, so, oops, it's blurry. So we will show the third series now, and then we will repeat. There are 5 actually, but we will do the following 2 in the week. But we will show the third one now, and then we will repeat these 3. So the third one, I attack. I try to enter, he close, and I stop. Now I see an opening, I try to enter here, but he closed the opening and I have to adjust. Now it's a little tricky. I will draw his sword out this direction here with me. And when he opens his shoulder, and I will touch his shoulder. When this happens, he turns, sends my sword down, and ends the movement here. So the whole thing looks like this. We'll do it in one flow. And the meaning of the movements. First, I try to reach his head. He stops, he closed the opening. Then I try to enter in the other opening. He closed this opening, I have to adjust. Now, this is the tricky part. Because his legs are here. He can reach me here because he has his feet in the same line. But when I move out here, he is not able to reach me in the same way because he's standing like this, trying to reach. When I'm in front of 1 foot, he can reach further. So I choose to go here for him, where if he wants to cut me here, he has to adjust his stance before he cuts, which makes him slow. So he's standing here and I pull him to a square position almost. That's when his shoulder come in. That's when I take his shoulder. But he feels this and he protects his shoulder. He exchanged his shoulder for his sword. And then he pushed my sword down and enters. So from this position here, I draw him with me over here, and he feels this and follows. Now, when I draw him here, he's in the worst position because I said, I'm not in front of his line in his feet. So I can reach him here. But he feels this and then he will turn, come up, and boom. But before we do the full movement, let's just do that one. We will show it from this angle. So we stop in the middle of the kata. I will attack. So I come here. I try to enter, he stops me. I try to enter, he stops me. Now I will draw him there in front of him, try to make him as square as possible. So I bring him with me, like I would draw his sword here. And then when he's open, I touch his shoulder, standing with my feet together. So just do this movement. And this is like a cut here. Don't drop your sword. It's really reaching in, hanging in, and touch his shoulder. Okay, please try. Okay, so just look at the tricky part in this kata. We have done this here. We have done this one here. Now, we're standing in this position here. Now, if I drop my sword now, he can reach in because his feet are aligned. So he can reach me in here. So what I do from this position is to go out here. And this is worse for him. That's when he leans forward and I take his shoulder because his feet become more square, you know? So try this one more time. See if you can Okay, so let's look at this movement again. So we are here, and this side here. Now, from this position, as I said, if I drop my sword, he can enter straight. So what I do, I bring him over here, where it's difficult for him to reach me. Then I go for his shoulder, but in the moment I go for his shoulder, he exchanges his shoulder for his sword. So he has come here, his shoulder is here. Then he brings his feet together and replace the shoulder with his sword in a spiral movement. So from here to here. Then turn out from here, down, and come up again inside. So please try. Okay, we will show it again, the same movement. I will attack. I'll be uke. So I attack. Hey! Hey! To! And from another angle, I attack again. Hey! 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 Ah! Please try again. Okay, so let's look again for this movement. When we're standing here, now Mats is uke, I'm nage, so he's attacking. So when he moves to the side here, he draws me with me. So in this position here, my shoulder is in. Bam. So I said, in this moment or before this moment, I turn, exchange my shoulder for my sword. Then I send his sword down in a hole behind his hip so I can enter. When you send his sword here, it's not enough with this. You have to take his hip. So his hip has to go. And then when you step in here, my sword is on his throat, not, maybe Mats can show. So he's here, controlling me here. If I do this, I kill myself. And this I can't do because his sword is here. If he's too close now, I take him here. So be careful, don't be too close, or I could hit. So he has to control me in a distance where I cannot reach his arm or his face here. And with a little feeling here. If the sword is here, I could get rid of his sword. So again, we are in this position here, now, here, and he pulls me this way. Now my shoulder is open, I return and send his sword behind his hip. Then I enter in a position where I'm safe from his arm here. He should not be able to reach me. And then release. So make sure your sword is here and not in front because he could push it. Okay, please try. Okay, so we will repeat these three out of 5. And I know the order might be different in real Kashima work, but I learned it this way, so I stay in this way. I'm too old to change. So anyway, Mats will attack. We do 1, number 2, number 3. So. Hey! 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 Ah! Try all 3 for a few minutes. Okay, so we're soon finished. Before I end, I would like to say something. If you're really interested in Kashima work, I can strongly recommend this book, Legacies of the Sword. And something that interests me in Kashima is it's this called a spiritual sword, and it's a sword to protect life. And as I understand it, as I said, I'm not a certified Kashima instructor, but as I understand it, all the cuts in Kashima come from Kesagiri. So the basic cut in Kesagiri, in Kashima is Kesagiri. And from Kesagiri, Shomen happens, which means that Shomen is also a spiral movement. It's not just straight back and forth. So this is my understanding of the movement, which makes it a little different from maybe other styles where the Shomen cut would be the center cut in the movement. But in Kashima, most of the movements come from Kesagiri, understanding Kesagiri. So I can strongly recommend this book if you want to learn more or find a certified Kashima instructor. I just wanted to share some of my experience, and I'm very grateful that Jan Sensei was here. And maybe next week we will continue and we will repeat what we have done, and then we will move to the last two in the third series.
I just want to say thank you so much, Jan Shihan and Mats Sensei. That was very inspiring. You've given us a lot to work on, and we're looking forward to more next week and on November the 7th.
So we will just bow out and then end the session. So